Welcome back to Community Hotline. My name is Monica Weitzel. We're here at MetroEast Community Media, and I'm happy to have with us Dennis Morrow, who is the Executive Director of Janus Youth Programs. So, Janus has been around for a long time, and you do a ton of stuff. So, really, there's not enough time to go into everything you do. So maybe, Dennis, you can give me an overview of what Janus is all about, what the mission is, and what you do.
Mm-hmm. Well, Janus was actually started in 1972 by Multnomah County.
Okay.
A group of citizens, there were 3 women in the county that saw a need to have a program where kids on the street using drugs could get help. It doesn't sound radical today, but in 1972 it was one of the first 7 programs in the whole country that actually tried to do residential treatment for kids with drug problems.
I had no idea.
We started with 5 houses at about 30 staff and about 32 kids. I joined the agency in 1980, and as we sit here today, now we have approximately 47 programs. We have 21 different locations. We're in both Oregon and Southwest Washington. Probably serve well over 500 to 550 kids a day.
Wow.
And I think we're one of the larger, if not the largest, nonprofit agency that serves high-risk youth. There's a lot bigger nonprofits, but our focus is primarily on kids that don't have other options.
So you've moved beyond just drug problems for street youth.
Yeah, in fact, we don't even have specialized drug treatment anymore. We use other agencies in the community we refer for that. So Janus has become, I think of it as an umbrella or kind of a home for a number of different programs. Some of the programs we've developed, some of the programs used to be nonprofit agencies on their own in the community and have come under the Janus umbrella to stabilize themselves.
Right? Okay.
So we have quite an array of both names and programs. If you look at it across the board, one of our largest areas that we work in is runaway and homeless youth. So we have Harry's Mother, which is the runaway program in Multnomah County.
And that's been around for a long time.
It's been around since 1976.
Because that's a name that I instantly recognize.
Right.
And did that used to be a separate nonprofit? Or
Well,
was that
it was
always
actually
under
part of
Janus?
Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon.
Okay.
Started in '76
Okay.
and then came to Janus in 1981. And it's been with us ever since. So we provide a 24-hour crisis hotline where parents or teens can call in and get help any time of the day or night. We have a 24-hour awake crisis center where staff are available to help teens and parents. We also take any youth that the police would pick up any time of the day or night in Multnomah County if they are not able to be detained legally, which is a very small number of kids. They come to us, and then we can do emergency intervention. We'll contact the parents. We'll try and get them back home. And if we need to, we have an emergency shelter where they can stay overnight or for a few nights in order to be able to stabilize.
Wow.
So that's one of our program areas.
So runaway youth.
Runaway youth, homeless youth. We do street outreach for Multnomah County. There's 4 agencies that work collectively with homeless youth in Multnomah County, and we are the entry door into the system, just like we are for the runaway youth.
So what does that mean, street outreach?
Street outreach, that means that 365 nights a year, we put teams of volunteers on the street to try and find homeless youth, talk to them, provide emergency aid, supplies, socks, Band-Aids, whatever it takes to try and keep them alive and well, and try and encourage them to come into services off of the street.
So how does that work? How does that work? I mean, are they well received?
Yes, they are because they know we're going to be there 365 nights a year. They go out with an identifying bag. We always work in teams, and we have just an excellent reputation with the homeless youth. We make over, between Oregon and Southwest Washington, we also do outreach for homeless youth. We make over 30,000 contacts a year.
Wow.
Not different kids, but 30,000 different times we're going to talk to a kid and try and get them off the street.
So if there's a homeless youth out there and is in Portland or the area, they're going to find out about Janus pretty darn quickly.
Yeah, the network will take them right to us.
So if they're ready to get out of that, or if they know where to go.
Right. Then we have an emergency shelter for homeless youth that has 35 beds in it downtown. And in the same building, we also have what we call a short-term shelter. So the emergency shelter, they can stay up to a certain number of nights every month. Then if they choose to come off the street, all they have to do is say, I want to get help, get connected with a case manager in one of our partner agencies. They can move upstairs to our short-term shelter and they can live up there for actually 3 to 4 months, usually waiting to get into a longer-term program in one of the other partner agencies. So we're looking at 70 youth every night off of the streets. And I just actually, this afternoon, just got the latest report. We're still turning away 5 to 7 kids a night.
Really?
In the first 2 weeks of December, before the county expanded our capacity, we had 60, they took us up to 70. First 2 weeks of December, we turned away 133 kids.
It was so darn cold.
Yeah, that was cold, that was rainy, that was terrible.
I wouldn't want to be out there either.
It does not feel good to send kids back out on the street.
It's a little easier for the homeless youth in the summertime.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what can you do to take care of the rest of those youth? Is it funding, or is it just space?
They mean the other?
Yeah, the ones that have to get turned away?
Yeah, it's more, in this case, probably more space and
More
a little bit of
space.
funding. It doesn't take a lot more money, but it takes a little bit more space than we've got right now. We also operate some of the other programs that Janus operates. We're the largest provider of services for teen parents, teen moms in the state of Oregon. We work with over 250 to 350 girls any given time. Over
And
500
what do you
a
do
year.
for them?
We do home visits, infant assessments, parent training.
Really?
Work with them from where they're identified to us, usually prenatally or as soon as the child is born. And we're going out there to try and say to this mom, you made a choice to get pregnant, you made a choice to have a baby. We're not judging that. We want you to be the best mom you can be.
I like
so
that.
I have
I like
a whole array of
I like
wonderful.
the lack of judgment and the support that's there, the unconditional support.
It's the only way it works,
That's great.
because our job is
I'm
to make sure that the babies come up healthy, because
Yes.
the parents of babies of teen moms are at a very high risk for a bunch of really bad stuff later. And what we do is we eliminate that risk by having wonderful home visitors that go out, bond with the kids, be able to make a safe relationship with them.
The outreach team, the home visitors, are these volunteers or are these people that work for Janus?
Outreach teams are predominantly volunteers. We have 3 paid staff, and they actually tend to go into the higher risk areas. So for instance, when Occupy Portland was happening, we only sent our paid our paid staff into there, but we were doing outreach into Occupy Portland every single night that they were there.
So how many volunteers do you think you have?
Oh,
through
at any given
Janus?
time, 20 to 30 composing the team. We have people that have been with us from a year out to, I think 9 years is our longest. We just had somebody retire that had actually been doing street outreach for 16 years, volunteering on the street.
Okay, so there are probably volunteer opportunities all over in Janus?
In some, not all over,
areas?
in limited places. Part of it is because our programs work with many of the programs, a higher risk youth.
Yes.
We have the first emergency shelter beds, for instance, for girls and boys, but predominantly girls who are being sex trafficked. We just opened a long-term shelter, which means it's a place where those girls and boys can live for up to 2 or 3 years.
Girls, boys, separate places?
No.
So
co-ed.
all the same place?
Yeah,
It
co-ed.
is, okay. And that's a kind of a new thing, isn't
That's
it?
we just opened that in December.
I mean, anywhere. You don't.
The programs are new. There's a handful around the country. Again, Multnomah County asked Janus to coordinate planning for that group of kids. We worked with a number of different agencies. We worked very closely with the Sexual Assault Resource Center, with LifeWorks Northwest, with State Child Welfare, basically with the police, very closely with the police, because they're often the ones that are finding the kids, to basically set up a network of services. So if a girl, again, gets picked up, police bring her to our 24-hour center. We can call and get an immediate advocate there for her. If she needs shelter, we can do emergency shelter. We sheltered just, I think, 78 youth roughly last year. We had the shelter beds for 1 year.
Such a huge problem.
Half of them under age 15.
Oh.
12 to 14 is the average age of recruitment. So it's a major issue. And people always ask, well, where are they from? And I have to say, right here. This is not Thailand.
It's all around
This is
you,
not
yes,
Vietnam. No,
yes.
these are not. This is not international sex trafficking. These are our girls. These are our kids. We operate. We're also a registered organic farm. I think the only youth agencies in the state that's a registered organic farm.
I didn't know about that. You call urban agriculture?
Urban agriculture, right.
So tell me about that.
Well, we help establish 2 community gardens in North Portland, starting out in 2 public housing projects that help the neighborhoods come together and grow things, healthy organic food for themselves, but it also was a community building tool.
I'm sure.
We had a group of youth that we were using the garden to teach the youth how to grow and sell things on a very small scale, and then Metro gave us some land on Sobey Island. So we started out with a 1-acre farm. We now have a 2.5-acre organic farm.
Wow.
The youth plant all winter. Then we have a stipend. They get paid in the summer to work in the garden. But they're up early in the morning and they're out there harvesting, planting now. Then they're going to harvest. They have a greenhouse out there. They have a washing station out there. They package the stuff. They price it. Then they take it to the Portland State Farmers Market. We also go to St. John's Farmers Market up there, and we sell the New Seasons grocery, which was one of the cool things last year.
A great way to learn a skill.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything from the agricultural part to the marketing.
Yes, and many of these are immigrant children. We have a number of them who didn't even speak English when they started high school, and they're working with us. One of our All-Stars just last year got selected for a Gates Millennium Scholarship.
Wow.
So there's like 20,000 applications in the whole country. Only 1,000 kids get picked, and he was out of Roosevelt High School, and he got selected for that.
Nice.
The other thing that we do with those youth is the food they don't sell, they take back to their community and donate it. They do giveaways to elderly, to disabled, and to people that don't have money. So, and that's organic food, but it's also teaching them a social value.
Yes,
So
it's a good deal. Good deal.
we cover a wide range of.
Now, speaking of all the things you do, you brought in this Janus Youth Program's Tree of Life. Maybe we can get a picture of that. And tell me what we're looking at here.
Well,
we can get that on the screen here.
I had a board member many years ago that said, Dennis, our organizational chart, as you can imagine, has a lot of boxes and a lot of lines, and it's very complex.
Yes.
And he said, only you could know and understand that thing. I need something that explains to me what this agency is about.
Okay.
And how do I know if I go into a Janus program, how do I know it's a Janus program? And why does it belong to us and why isn't it somewhere else? So actually this model came out of our garden program, who developed it to explain a lot of the work that they do, and I borrowed it for them, or from them, and it's been amazing ever since, because what it really says is what Janus is, all of this diversity is about kids, predominantly high-risk kids, and it's like a tree, and we call it the tree of life because we're trying to breathe life into those kids.
Because you've got the different...
Yes, each arm of each limb is an arm of service, and then each leaf is one of our programs.
For example, the residential, the teen parents, education, runaway youth.
Washington State, we're the only emergency shelters in Washington State once you cross the river until you get to Tacoma, and we serve the entire 6 counties of Southwest Washington.
Urban agriculture and homeless youth.
Right. Residential, we do long-term residential care for both boys in the Oregon Youth Authority system and boys and girls in the state child welfare system. So what the tree says to us, and when I talk to new staff, what I tell them is everything, even though you might be one leaf way out here on an end, you're really connected to a much larger organic entity. And we have to have enough nurturance in the tree, which is our volunteers, our donors, the grants that we get in, the partnerships. We have to have enough nurturance to be able to support everybody. And one of the ways we make decisions is if we're going to grow a new leaf, is it going to fit, and are we going to be able to support it? And sometimes we grow leaves, sometimes we lose leaves, sometimes in a recession you might lose a whole limb off of the tree, but it doesn't kill the tree, it just says sometimes you lose a limb to make it stronger. But everybody belongs. The other thing, if you look here, that's really important, is what makes it a Janus program, and what we talk about is we have our core values, and then we have our absolute core values, and they're right here: safety and respect. Safety and respect. Because what we believe is that the youth that we work with have grown up a life being disrespected and living in unsafe environments often from small children on. All of our programs are open doors. We don't do any physical restraint. We have an absolute hands-off policy. We never touch a kid. So if a child comes to us or a youth comes to us, in an emergency shelter in the middle of the night, they only stay if they feel safe. And they only stay if they feel respected. And if they smell any element that's not safe or not respect, they're out the door in a second. So our mantra that we use with our staff is you can't give what you don't get. If we want to be a safe agency for kids, we have to be a safe agency for staff. If we want to be respectful for kids, we have to be respectful with our staff. And one of the things I think the proudest about is none of this works without staff. Most Janus staff are working barely above minimum wage because that's what the state, county, city, that's what they pay us to work with these kids. They're working with the hardest kids, I believe, in the state of Oregon. And we have over a third of our staff that have been with us for 5 or more years. Wow.
I was thinking, I bet it's a great place to work because it's rewarding and you're cared about and you're safe and respected.
Yeah. We try.
Yeah, it sounds like a great place. So we only have a few more minutes, Dennis. Tell me what people should know about Janus that maybe we haven't covered today. Or tell us what you need. Do you need, more people to, do you take public donations? Do you need volunteers?
We can use volunteers in some of our very special areas, which oftentimes is sometimes in the area of working with the sex trafficked kids, but most often right now it's working with our homeless youth in terms of those street outreach workers. We have a very strong relationship with a number of churches through the faith-based community. They were largely responsible for opening this new shelter for sex trafficked kids. Really? A huge amount of donations came in. We have churches that, for instance, will cook a meal one night a month. They will cook a meal for the homeless youth shelter. Because basically we can either have a $60,000 food budget or a zero food budget. And if we have $60,000 that we don't spend on that, then we can hire more staff, then we can get more kids off of the street. So we have a calendar where churches and groups like that can sign up and do those types of things. But mostly, I think, if you think of Janus, the origin of the name Janus is the Roman god of transitions. When you went into the Roman building, you would have a bearded guy looking at you on the outside of the building when you came in, over the doorway. When you got in, he was looking at you. So I think of it, he always was looking at where you came from and where you were going to. And it stands for transitions. January is the first month of the new year. That's that's the Roman representation of that. So what we're doing is we're opening doors for kids. And one of the hardest things for us is having people in the community know that our kids are out there. And one of the things that we often hear is, I've never heard of Janus. I heard of Harry's mother, or I heard of this program, or I heard of it, but I never heard of Janus. Well, largely because our kids are the ones that are invisible. You walk out on the street, you really don't want to see them. Or you want to say those are...
The ones you walk around.
Yeah, you walk around, and you walk around because they're trying to spare change or grab you, and
it's
not
uncomfortable.
realizing that this is a kid who came out of an abusive family that doesn't have any other options. We have programs that work with boys coming out of the state training school. We've had boys that have been 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years locked up.
Oh, wow.
And they will safely go back into the community, but people don't want to know they're in their community, and they don't want to. So part of what I ask for people is just to understand, these are children. There is no homeless youth. There is a familyless child.
I like that.
And that's our philosophy.
On that note, I'll conclude the show. Thank you, Dennis. That was great. And that's a really good point. I'm glad we got that in tonight. We're all out of time. Thank you so much for telling us about Janus. And I'd love to have you on again, share in more depth some of the other programs you have.
Yeah, we'd love to do that.
Great. Thank you. And thanks for watching this edition of Community Hotline. My name is Monica Weitzel. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you here next week.